Good morning, beloveds. I have a very special reading for you this morning from our Book of the 2 Months, the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox. And here is what he has to say about today's blissitude. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. The vital bearing of the principle covered in this beatitude lies in its application to the realm of thought. The thing that really matters is that you be merciful in your thoughts. Kind actions coupled with unkind thoughts are hypocrisy, dictated by fear or desire for self-glory or some such motive. They are counterfeit, and they bless neither the giver nor the recipient. On the other hand, the true thought about our fellow man blesses him spiritually, mentally, and materially, and blesses you too. Let us be merciful in our mental judgments of our brother and our sister, for in truth we are all one. And the more deeply he seems to err, the more urgent is the need for us to help him with the right thought, and so make it easier for him to get free. You, because you understand the power of the spiritual idea, have a responsibility that others have not. See that you do not evade it. When his delinquency comes to your notice, remember that the Christ in him is calling out for help to you who are enlightened. So, be merciful. Because indeed and in truth we are all one, component parts of the living garment of God, you yourself will ultimately receive the same treatment that you mete out to others. You will receive the same merciful help in your own hour of need from those who are farther along the path than you are. Above all, it is true that in freeing others from the weight of your condemnation, you make it possible to absolve yourself from self-condemnation. Hallelujah. I'm going to read through today's affirmation, then I'll ask you to stand and join me. I walk in the world with compassion and kindness, a beacon of love and mercy for myself. A beacon of love and mercy for others and for myself. I refuse to judge or condemn myself or anyone else. Free from all ideas of judgment and condemnation, I always think kind and forgiving thoughts, sourced by the infinite mind and heart of God, the good. Please stand and join me with conviction. I walk in the world with compassion and kindness, a beacon of love and mercy for others and for myself. I refuse to judge or condemn myself or anyone else. Free from all ideas of judgment and condemnation, I always think kind and forgiving thoughts, sourced by the infinite mind and heart of God the good. And so it is. Let your mercy reign on us. What's under that is that there is such a thing as mercy already. That's assumed. In fact, I learned this week that in the Hebrew Bible, one of the names for God was mercy. And I don't mean like that was an attribute of God. I mean, when you said mercy, people knew you meant the word God. That's kind of cool. Mercy. God. One thing. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the godlike, for they shall receive mercy. I don't know about you, more than one time in my life, I have been standing in the need of mercy. probably in my best interest to think about this idea of being merciful, because the bottom line, and we learned in our reading today, what you give is what you're going to get. What you give is what you're going to get. That's the fundamental of our teaching, isn't it? What you give, you are going to get. Now, the Latin word for mercy is merced, which is interestingly the root word of Mercedes, the car, which I loved to find that out. I thought that was really cool. The Latin word merced actually means wages or reward. You think about it, wages or reward, mercy, merced. It is what we receive simply for being who we are. We are rewarded by the merciful nature of the infinite because we are of its creation. It is the wages or the reward that we receive. And I don't know about you, but I'm open to receiving an award called a Mercedes too, a reward called a Mercedes. But it's interesting that it wasn't until about 1200 that that word mercy, as it is spoken in English, came to mean kind of heavenly reward. Heavenly reward. And where is heaven? Oh, it's right where you are. So is hell, by the way. Your reward is mercy, simply because of who you are. And will you be godlike and duplicate the nature of God in your everyday life by being merciful? It's your choice. You don't have to. And you will have one experience of life if you do, and you will have a different experience if you don't. The word mercy, merci, remember that? That's in French, right? It's thank you, right? It's kind of funny. I was thinking today, a dear kind of the person that I thought of as my godfather, he was a French teacher, and it used to drive him nuts because in my family we used to say murky buttercups for thank you, which is, merci beaucoup, right? That's the French, and he was a French person, and we'd say murky buttercups, and he'd go, oh my God, there they go again. Murky buttercups. It means thank you, merci. And the definition of the English word as it stands today means compassionate forbearance. Compassionate forbearance. Are you willing to stand in compassionate forbearance for those around you? Wait a minute, what was that thing Jesus taught? Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Do you see how all this kind of starts to tie together? Are you willing to walk in mercy for others? Oh, and as Emmett Fox told us, for ourselves, compassionate forbearance for ourselves and for others. Are you willing to cultivate your godness? Are you willing to become more godless? You see, one of the things that we have to do in this life, if we wish to be on a conscious spiritual path, one of the tools that we can use is to be consistently asking ourselves, what is the nature of God as whatever thing we want to experience? What is the nature of God as mercy? What is the nature of God as love? What is the nature of God as peace? What is the nature of God as joy? And then go out and practice being that. So let's ask today, what is the nature of God as mercy? What is the nature of God as compassionate forbearance? What would that look like in the human realm if I were to choose to engage in that behavior? Because you know what? I am going to need mercy someday. So let me be about practicing mercy, being present to compassionate forbearance for others, so that when my time comes, others will stand in compassionate forbearance for me. Now, mind you, don't get me wrong. We don't do anything to get something, right? We do anything to be something. I want to be compassionate forbearance for others. And you know what? If others are compassionate forbearance for me or not, oh well. It's who I am that ultimately really matters, isn't it? So, how do we express compassionate forbearance in thought, word, and deed for everyone? I was remembering a quote from Zoroaster. Who knows who Zoroaster is? Awesome, quite a few folks. He was the founder of Zoroastrianism, a Parsi religion. He was Iranian. He was a prophet. He lived 500 or 600 years before Jesus. And here is what he said. He said, taking the first step with a good thought, the second step with a good word, the third step with a good deed, I enter paradise. Breathe into that paradise with me for a moment. Taking the first step with good thought, the second step with good word, and the third step with good deed, I enter paradise. Where is heaven? And I can create that heavenly experience, that heavenly experience of mercy and compassionate forbearance by taking my first step with good word, good thought, my second step with good word, and my third step with good deed. Will you walk with me? Let's be about it. So thinking, speaking, doing is totally the thing, right? Let's start with thinking. What did we talk about last week? Right thinking. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after right thinking. This is where it all begins in our lives. It all starts here. Here, coupled with here. Remember we talked about that kind of 12-inch journey. These two things have to be a match. So we hunger and thirst after right thinking. And so there are some things that we can do, some be attitudes, if you will, some ways of being that bring along that experience of right thinking in our lives, that cultivate the practice of right thinking in our lives, the things that bring us into an experience of bliss. Right? Remember, we're talking about these ideas as blissitudes, the characteristics, the attitudes, the behaviors that take us into an experience of bliss. And so there are three ways that we can be that will take us further into heaven, that will help us, that will walk us into paradise in our thinking, in our words, and in our deeds. There's three I'm going to talk about first as a clump, and then there's one at the end. And the three I'm going to talk about first are be patient, be kind, and be helpful. We must be patient, be kind, and be helpful. Be patient. Sometimes we just gotta wait. Whether it's traffic, or a beloved who's running behind, or something that you have been working toward that hasn't manifested in your life yet, sometimes we just have to wait. And there are two ways we can wait. God damn it, I've been waiting. Or there is a divine order, there is no time in God, and things unfold exactly as they are supposed to in the time that they will. Good thought. I enter paradise. Taking my first step with good thought. You see, and then what happens is our words come out based on our thinking. That's the second step. And then, amazingly enough, our doing follows what? Our thinking and our speaking? Because what we've done is we've created a way of being in our thinking and our speaking that is the embodiment of patience. Okay. Just gonna wait. And all is well. And the second one of this first set of three was to be kind. I don't know about you, sometimes especially when I'm feeling impatient and I'm allowing myself to think thoughts like, why can't that? sometimes I'm unkind. Have you ever been unkind? Especially when you're impatient? And as Emmett Fox told us, it is as important to think kindly as to speak kindly. It's counterfeit. It's hypocrisy if I'm speaking kindly and I'm not thinking kindly. I don't know about you, but I'm uncomfortable with the idea that I might be a hypocrite. And that discomfort calls me forth into aligning my thinking and my words and my behavior. I don't want to be uncomfortable. So we must be kind, genuinely kind, thinking high, positive thoughts of others and about ourselves, and then allowing that to dictate how we behave. And then the third one in this first little clump was to be helpful. And let me qualify that. We must be cheerfully helpful. Cheerfully helpful. Oh, sure, yeah, I'll help you with that. Or, oh, God, I'll help if I have to. Do I have to help? Okay. Be cheerfully helpful. Well, it's funny, I was in the store the other day, and I was watching this lady go in, and I was kind of a ways back, and she had, the grocery bags and the kid and the stuff, and, she was like, and she was just trying to get the door open. The door wasn't opening right. And, there were a couple people around, and nobody was helping her. And I'm like, I've never been a mom, but I can kind of put myself in that place and think, it's probably kind of stressful to go to the grocery store with the kids and the stuff and the everything, yeah? So, and by the time I got over there, she had managed it. But let's just be helpful for no apparent reason. Compassionate forbearance, compassionate action in the world, being helpful just because. Here, let me help you with that. And be really helpful, not enabling helpful. Get the difference? The rule here is don't do things for people that they could do for themselves. Whoa. Don't do things for people that they could do for themselves, in general. That makes sense? I mean, she can sort of get the door open, but not really, right? She really cannot effectively manage that by herself. So let's be helpful. Let's help her. But to be truly helpful, we have to be helping people with the things that they cannot manage for themselves. Helpful thoughts, helpful words. Do you hear that? Sometimes the words that come out of my mouth are not very helpful words. And when I hear myself, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, did I say that? Was I actually thinking that? I wish I could take that back. But you see, it tells us what we're thinking, what we hear come out of our mouths. Helpful words, kind words, patient words. See, what we're doing when we're engaging in this kind of behavior is we are helping people to see that they are not what they sometimes think they are. Does that make sense to you? Our job as those who are on the spiritual path to enlightenment is to disprove people's false beliefs about themselves. When I'm walking around thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't measure up, nobody loves me, I'm all alone, I don't have any time, and you show up as love and patience and kindness for me, you're disproving my false belief about myself. You're actually showing up to prove to me that I am worthy, that I am power, that I am grace. See what Emmett Fox said about those who are a little further along the path? Our job is to show up as spiritual truth for others. Let's be kind. Let's be patient. Let's be cheerfully helpful. Let's have our thinking match our words and our words match our doing. Are we good so far? All right, so these are our first three. Now, the one that's all by itself, number 4. Be forgiving. Oh, no, not that. Compassionate forbearance. Compassionate forbearance. We must be forgiving. We must, as Jesus taught us, do good to those who would hurt us. Do good to those who hurt us. Do good to those who hurt us. What? Don't wanna. But if we are walking in the teaching of Jesus, that's my teacher. Is it your teacher? If I want to walk in the teaching of Jesus, I am walking in the teaching of do good to those who hurt me. Which means I'm pre-forgiving. I'm pre-forgiving for their convenience. Let me forgive first, and then there's never anything to forgive, right? And we must pre-forgive in the small and in the large, in the small ways and the large things. There's a corporate kind of trainer guy. His name is Patrick Lencioni. Has anybody ever heard of him? He's a rock star. He's really good. He talks about what he calls the fundamental attribution error. The fundamental attribution error is this. What in me is circumstantial in you is a character flaw. What in me is I cut you off on the freeway. Oh, sorry, I'm in a hurry. You cut me off on the freeway. What a jerk. Right? What in me is circumstantial in you is a character flaw. Oh, I'm late for the meeting. Oh, there's so much going on, and the time thing and all that. But you're late for the meeting. It's like, what a jerk, always holding us up. Right? This is the fundamental attribution error. What in me is because of circumstances and really okay, if you just understood, in someone else is a character flaw. Well, the fact is, if it's circumstantial for me, it's circumstantial for them. Either that or it's a character flaw for them, it's a character flaw for me. What? And maybe it is a character flaw, and it's your opportunity to look into it. So forgiving starts with recognizing there, but for the grace of God go I, right? And I pre-forgive. I just let it all go before it ever even happens. That's part of being kind, being helpful, being patient. You see how all those things kind of feed into the being forgiving? But then there's the big things that require a little more forgiveness. Late to a meeting, cutting me off in the freeway, whatever. But what about the big things in life that require a little more forgiveness? Well, it's the same principle. God doesn't know about small and big. Did you hear that? God doesn't know about small and big. God is an isness. And everything is unfolding in the presence of God, and it doesn't know about little and big. Everything simply is. The problem with not forgiving the big things, holding resentments, is that getting even only gets us even. Getting even only gets us even. Go higher. I don't want to just get even with somebody's bad behavior. I want to go above and beyond somebody's bad behavior. And holding on to a resentment and being unforgiving is about making them miserable, isn't it? But what's really happening is making us miserable. So don't get even. Don't hold on to it. Go higher. Give them what they need. And anytime anyone is engaging in behavior that does not support, that is not life-giving, it's a call for love. Have you heard this idea that everything you see is either love or a call for love? Everything, every behavior, every word, every experience is either love or a call for love. And so forgiveness, walking in forgiveness, pre-forgiving, is answering someone's call for love with love. Am I willing to embody the merciful nature of God, to walk in compassionate forbearance for whatever is going on? by answering someone's call for love with love instead of impatience or unkindness or unhelpfulness. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. They shall receive the reward. They shall receive gratitude and thanks. They shall duplicate the nature of spirit in their daily lives by thinking and speaking and walking and being and doing in the infinite loving heart of God. And they shall be rewarded. I heard somebody say a couple weeks ago, it's impossible to throw away a seed. It's impossible to throw away a seed. If I throw away a seed, it's going to find somewhere to root, isn't it? What are the seeds we are planting in our thinking and our speaking and our deeds? They will take root. It will be done unto us. So let's plant seeds of love, of forgiveness, of helpfulness, of kindness, of joy, of peace. We'll plant seeds of all of that and receive our wages or our reward. And so let's turn within and seal this message, recognizing that we are created in the image and likeness of mercy. We are created in the image and likeness of mercy. God, the infinite one, the living one. And that power, that presence, that love permeates all things and all people and all experiences. There is only one life. That life is God's life. It is my life now. And even as it is my life, it is the life of each person in this room. We are lifted in our corporate conscious awareness of this presence right here and right now. We are opening our hearts and minds to a greater experience of God than we have ever known before. We are recognizing God as love, God as mercy, God as grace. God as that infinite mind from which all things have sprung and to which all things return. And we are anchored fully and completely in that mind and in that heart right here and right now. And so in that consciousness, I invite you now to ask yourself, how can I be more merciful? How can I think more mercy? How can I speak? How can I be more mercy? And you simply allow your connection with the infinite mind to inform you now. Asking yourself and allowing the answers to flow. Where must I be more patient? Where must I be more patient? Where in my life and in the lives of others can I be more helpful? To whom must I be more kind? And who or what must I forgive in order to walk in mercy for myself and for others? Who or what must I forgive? And see yourself now walking forward into this new way of being, embodying the principle of mercy in everything you do. The first step with good thought, merciful thought, loving thought, kind thought, helpful thought. And the second step with good word. All of your speaking filled with loving kindness, with mercy, with cheerful helpfulness. Your third step with good deed. Being the presence of love and mercy everywhere in your life. Helpful, kind, patient, forgiving. See yourself stepping into paradise. As you embody these principles and qualities of mercy, you are set free. And so I do give thanks for the power of this word. I give thanks for the open hearts and the willing minds that have said yes to the divine expression of mercy in their lives. I give thanks for the power and the presence that makes it possible. And I call forth a greater good as we leave this place today, knowing we have been transformed. We embody paradise. And I am grateful for it. And so I close this message confident in the transformation, confident in the newness we embody now. And so it is. Amen.